welcome back to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 6, Episode 15. So it's the day after the ladies all have came back from the nightclub from dinner. And we're seeing them getting ready, in the morning makeup, getting ready to, get their day started. And Angie accidentally walks into a guy carrying, the food. And she accidentally cuts her face to the point where they need a medic. And we see the actual blood splatter on the wall. And poor Angie, because Angie is accident prone. Angie she's damaged her finger and other things like, oh my goodness. So after that incident with Angie, we see the rest of the ladies start to get ready for the day. We see Lisa and Meredith sit down and have a talk, how Meredith is looking and feeling better. And of course, Lisa feels the same way. And Meredith is saying, she wants, to have fun for the rest of the trip and, everybody to come together and just be able to reflect back on the good moments. Well, that's what they were trying to do from the beginning. But Meredith, you were the one that was holding out. But nonetheless, thank goodness everybody is getting along for now. And, hopefully they can continue to have a good day. Now, as the morning goes on, we start to see that the ladies are taking a fine dress photo. They're going to pick out a very fine dress, very fine color, and they're all going to take photos. So as we see the ladies all get ready for the photos, they are going to a destination to take the photos. And then it also looks like they're going to keep the photographer for the entire day to take the group photos of every event. So this is kind of a cute idea. So we get to see the ladies take group photos, individual photos. Each lady does look very beautiful. And then we start to see how some of the ladies, Bronwyn, Heather and Whitney, all start to discuss this because they all see how Meredith is in a great mood, and that's a good thing. Let's keep her in this great mood so we can all continue to have a good time on this trip. And of course, after photos, the ladies are going to discuss, what else they all want to do, and a good chunk of them, a good majority of the group wants to go get lunch. So as photos ends, we see some of the ladies dip off to the spa, other ladies went to lunch, and the ladies that are at lunch currently is Bronwyn, Whitney and Mary. They all go to lunch and they're discussing their day and how Whitney and Meredith have come a long way since, arguing during the trip, and how now, since Meredith's in a great mood, she's helping Whitney out. She's actually getting a little bit more closer to Whitney. But somehow Mary feels like she's actually worried about Meredith. And as Whitney recalls her dad having the mood swings, from him being, an addict. But I don't want to put that on Meredith because we don't know exactly. But, Whitney is recalling some of the things that she went through with her dad, and she started to see that with Meredith, and Mary's agreeing. But as the discussion continues, they all think that something deeper with Meredith is going on, and that they all think that she needs some type of help. So following from the latest scene, the ladies continue to discuss the actions of Meredith. They feel like she's going through something that she's not, letting them know, because it is affecting her behavior. And we can tell Mary really does care for Meredith, because even during the conversation, she does get very emotional because, that's not her Meredith. And, I can agree, even though Meredith can explode, Meredith has always been able to just calm herself back down, and now it's looking like she's not doing that. Or even within the same day, like Bronwyn has said, even within the same day, she explodes and keeps exploding, and she doesn't take accountability, and she sometimes doesn't remember it. Now, I love the concern for Meredith, but we all know that's a slippery slope for them to have that conversation with her, because we know Meredith is just going to deny it, especially if it's something on a deeper level than the show itself. She's not going to admit that she has a problem, nor is she going to bring the problem up. But we'll see as this episode continues. Now, during this touching moment, Mary does reflect back on, not, missing the signs with her son. And now that she's know the signs and she can, point them out, she also sees them in Meredith, which, is another touching subject for Mary. Now, even though the ladies did pray and they did, calm down from the emotional turmoil that's going on with them, Bronwyn points out something also with Meredith, because she now states that her and her husband saw Seth, Meredith's husband, at a restaurant with another woman. But Seth did say that it was an investor, so we actually don't fully know. But from what Bronwyn is trying to say, it looks like she saw Seth with another woman, and that could be what's going on with Meredith. Now, I don't fully know, but if that is the case with Meredith and that's what's going on with her and Seth, then that could be why she really, really lashed out at Brittany regarding the video on TikTok and on the plane. That could be the reason why it was blown out that way, because she's harboring that instead of expressing what's really going on in her marriage. So as the ladies discuss further of what they think might be going on with Meredith, we then hop on to another scene, and it's the ladies that are, relaxing at the spa. And we get to see the rest of the ladies have a good time, even though it's supposed to be quiet. They still don't know how not to squeal out loud and, talk low. But nonetheless, they're having a good time, and that's good. Now at the spa, we see that it is Brittany, being a bit too playful for the ladies. Like I said, it's supposed to be a quiet spa, and everybody's just relaxing, but Brittany's just being just a tad bit too playful, and none of the ladies are liking it. And we're watching them having to remind her, like, hey, don't splash too much, calm down, we're not trying to redo our hair before we go to dinner, which is understandable. Brittany, calm down a little bit, honey. But Brittany does have a point as well. Last trip, y'all doused her with buckets of water, so y'all should be able to handle just a little bit of splash. But we can see that, in that moment, Brittany, that wasn't the time to splash. So we do see the ladies, they feel relaxed. So you know what? Actually, it's time to round this up because they're going to get ready to go to dinner. So now in this next scene, I thought they were going to head and get ready for lunch or dinner. But you know what? They said, we're going to get a little bit more zen. So they got out of the pool, I guess, to avoid more playful splashing from Brittany. And, they put on the robes and they just sit and relax. And yes, that's zen, to be quiet. As the ladies are in the zen area, they all have this whispering conversation about how Brittany was splashing water and how, it kind of made Angie's hair just a little bit crusty because of all the product and all the time and care that she puts into her hair. Now, I can understand both sides. Maybe, yeah, Brittany in her mind, in her thought process, thought she was lightening the mood when the mood was already light. But at the same time, Angie put a lot of care to her hair, so messing up her hair, if it was my hair, I'd be upset. So messing up her hair, I fully understand Angie on that part. So Brittany, in this moment, all you had to do was apologize because you didn't really need to make any type of mood light. It was already light when you went into the spa. And now Brittany changes the conversation, changes the topic, because she wants people to ask her about how her and her daughter's relationship is and if her daughter contacted her during Mother's Day. Now, in that moment, Meredith does bring up that when she was having a moment about Mother's Day, Brittany mentioned that, I didn't get to see my kids for 3 years, so, you should be okay. I understood what Brittany said in that moment, but that was not the time to try to act like it wasn't a big deal for Meredith, and now you want it to be a big deal. And when Lisa starts to make sense, that's when I'm going to side eye you, because Lisa did make a point. Based on your choices, you didn't see your kids for 3 years. And that is how you brought it to the group. Basically, to Lisa, you're basically just trying to garner sympathy so you can get out of a topic or a discussion, which in this moment, I thought you were. But when you were crying in the car, I thought that was a real moment. But as of right now, in the Zen Garden, you just wanted to get out of that topic because you knew you weren't going to win. And now you guys are having a disagreement, not loud, but a regular tone disagreement to which you're actually supposed to be quiet in the Zen place or the spa. And now Meredith has to get up and go. Like I said, Brittany, all you had to do was apologize for getting Angie's hair wet. But you took the conversation, you changed it up to about your motherhood. And now they're going to throw out what you've been putting out. Just basically, you chose having a boyfriend over being an actual mom. And now you want us to care about you being a mom. And now y'all getting in trouble being told multiple times to be quiet in somebody's spa. And yeah, I would have got him and left with Meredith too, because you're not going to keep telling me to be quiet. And somebody's continuously trying to have an argument with me. So now we get to the next scene, and the ladies are all home, they're all relaxed, and they're discussing what happened during their day. We get to see Whitney and Heather talk about what happened at lunch, and Whitney's gonna spill it all to Heather about, her, Bronwyn, and Mary having a very touching, very tender moment discussing Meredith. And even when discussing this with Heather, even Heather was shocked that Mary was discussing this. And yes, we all saw Mary get very emotional about Meredith because she really does care about Meredith. They're actually friends. So as the rest of the day goes on, we see the ladies all start to get ready for dinner. Now that we see the ladies on the bus heading towards dinner, we get a little segue or a little segment of, our Lisa moment and how she's spiritual and she loves the trees. And that very well could be Lisa loving the trees, but spiritual, yeah, no. Lisa doesn't give spiritual, she gives materialistic, and I think she should just leave with that. Now, while the ladies are still in the car heading towards dinner, Lisa starts to bring up some insinuations of Brittany that, you know, maybe during the yacht trip that she was just drinking just a tad bit, a little too much because she was throwing up so much. And now Lisa is calling Brittany a lush and just, you know, kind of ridiculing the fact that she was just, you know, drinking and throwing up. And now I'm with Brittany on this one. Like, what are you trying to start? What is it about me that you're trying to bring up and insinuate and start with me now? And of course, the cameras do, you know, help us out, because 2 hours earlier, after Meredith was upset with Brittany, Meredith then brings up the fact that Brittany was constantly drinking and throwing up, being an alcoholic, as you know, from what they're saying. So yes, this is very on brand to see that what Meredith brings up, then Lisa's just going to push it out. And this is clear revenge from Brittany, you know, having a disagreement with Meredith at the Zen Spa. As the ladies arrive to dinner, we see that the ladies, you know, everywhere in Greece, you have to take the stairs. So the ladies carefully get themselves to the table, start to order drinks and decide on what appetizers to start with. And we also see Bronwyn get up and get a phone call from her husband. Now with the phone call, we also learned that, you know, Bronwyn's mom, this is her last day in the house before she fully moves out. And Todd is going back and forth helping out the mom. So basically, Bronwyn does feel bad because it's not her going back and forth to help out her mom, and that is Todd. So it is taking a bit of a toll, but Todd is keeping her up to date on everything that's going on. So this is a good moment to see Todd in a different light, to see how tender he is, how Bronwyn just doesn't have to act. He just gets up and he does it. And of course, does he do dumb things? Of course, they're men. They're going to do dumb things. But you know, I do see why Bronwyn is just very much in love with him. And sometimes, you know, they work it out because she gets the better moments of Todd that we all don't get to see. So now after the moment with Bronwyn and Todd, because Bronwyn did bring it up a little bit at the dinner table, Brandy then brings up her issue with Lisa, and that is Lisa insinuating that Brandy drank too much on the yacht. But I mean, that's a girl's trip. That's what we're going to do. We're going to wake up drinking. So why are you trying to make a big deal of this? Now, of course, Lisa is not going to tell who told her, but Meredith does chime in, and she also says she heard it as well. But neither of the ladies are trying to throw anybody under the bus, so to speak, and say who told them. But I mean, does it truly matter? It's weeks later. You act like you didn't have a problem with it on the yacht trip, so I don't understand why you're bringing it up in the first place. And once again, it's a girl's trip. I mean, yeah, was she throwing up? Was that icky? Yeah, that was, but it wasn't like she was in public doing it. She was all on the boat. Y'all were having a good time, and that's what it was. But Brittany does come to a conclusion that it was Bronwyn that told Meredith, and even Meredith stated that that's what Bronwyn had told her, that Brittany was throwing up the entire time. Only for Bronwyn to now say that's not exactly what I said. She stated that Meredith came to her and asked if Brittany was throwing up. And now once again, we have a disagreement amongst the group because Meredith is now doing the very same thing that she did not like Whitney doing to her and Lisa. So this is getting annoying. 1 minute the group is fine, the next minute the group is not speaking to each other, they're having disagreements, and it's minuscule disagreements. It's not something to be so super serious about, even though accusing someone of being alcoholic is serious. But to have the disagreement start off so very minute, that's where the issue is. That's where the annoyance is. Like, why do y'all need to keep tearing each other down when all you have to do is find or have a conversation with each other before it gets too explosive, before it gets disrespectful, before it gets accusatory? And shout out to Whitney for holding Lisa accountable, because just because you do it and you're trying to use words to make it sound cute doesn't mean that's respectful, doesn't make it any more hurtful than it already is. But I also think Meredith should have got some of that smoke too, because Meredith, why are you running around insinuating and saying those things if you don't like it said about you? But with that being said, Bronwyn did go to Lisa and just say, you know what, you need to apologize so we can all just move on, because they are having a good time until those issues started to arrive. So Lisa does her form of apology. Everything gets cleared, and then the ladies start to say some good positive things about Brittany, and then until Heather mentions Brittany's acting career and states that she's more accomplished than most people at the table, to which Bronwyn does take offense to. And now understandably, most of the ladies at the table are now shouting out their accomplishments, and now everybody is getting on Heather. Now maybe Heather did just a little bit too much with giving Brittany that compliment, because it does offend the ladies. But Heather's point is that, you know, Brittany's just not somebody somebody's just sitting here with nothing under her belt. She hasn't accomplished anything. She has things that she has accomplished, which is recommendable. But Heather, it doesn't mean that Brittany has done more than the other ladies. To which now Mary especially thinks that you're now Brittany's mouthpiece to try to protect her from the other ladies in the group. To which Angie does point out, not only is Heather trying to protect Brittany, we see Lisa being Meredith's mouthpiece. That we've always seen that. The ladies do want everyone, or everybody in the group wants everyone to be able to stand up for themselves without having a mouthpiece for someone to speak for them and be able to stand up for themselves when they have disagreements within the group. And now, because of the many arguments that the ladies keep having, they do get kicked out one of the restaurants, which is embarrassing because the ladies do not know how to control their tone when they do talk to each other. And with that, the episode ends. The ladies are leaving and laughing, and you can see that one of the workers of the restaurant is saying, "Thank God they left," in his language. So let me know what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. See you in the next video.